Well, hey there, friends. And also Nancy. As you can see, I'm back from the desert. I was going to rate how you did on your first challenge, but I had a hard time finding the part in your video where you even did it because there was so much freaking whining at the beginning.
I live in the city.
You do remember that I'm an urban ecologist, right? I'm very familiar with the concept of cities, and also that most cities have green spaces, like the nearby botanical garden where you sometimes go to film. But I guess I'm sorry that finding a leaf was too hard for you. Maybe you shouldn't have started this challenge if you couldn't hack it. You found some good leaves though, and they were totally palmate.
And as you so condescendingly explained to me.
You know what? You're welcome. Even after I put the definition of palmate leaf in my original video, you still had to text me a picture to make sure that the leaf you'd found was the right kind. Just because you were too ashamed to admit publicly in your video that you didn't know how to identify a palmate leaf doesn't mean it didn't happen. So now I have to rate your first challenge, huh? Well, you had to ask me for help, but you did find 3 palmate leaves. So let's give you 3 out of 5 stars, 1 for each leaf.
Turf Wars, a battle of wits, knowledge, and creativity. Which naturalist will prove they're the best? Choose your fighter and watch the action unfold on Turf Wars!
Okay, less talking about you, more talking about me and my amazing adventures. You're right, I did spend a week in the Utah desert and it was fantastic. Unfortunately, my not-so-naturalist friend, I had to remind you that seasons are a thing in this part of North America, so many of the neat mammals and all of the cool reptiles were already underground asleep for the winter. But that doesn't mean I couldn't find things indicative of the desert.
I want you to bring me or show me 5 things that are characteristic of the Utah desert.
You want to see the desert? Girl, I have got you covered. You multiplied my challenge by 3, now I'm gonna do the same. Let's start with the plants. Even though a lot of the plants had already sort of wrapped up their growing for the season, I was able to find this sagebrush, which is absolutely iconic for the scrubby high desert of the Utah region. I was also able to find the remnant stems and flower or seed heads from this rubber rabbitbrush and this 4-wing saltbush. I found this purple prickly pear growing in clumps all over the desert. And as we hiked up the sides of buttes and into canyons, we found both Utah juniper and Rocky Mountain juniper. This roundleaf buffalo berry might be my new favorite plant just because of the amazing name, but also look at those leaves, they're so round and sweet. Some people might think of yucca plants when they think of the desert, but I was able to find these dwarf yucca plants, which are the same thing but smaller and more adorable. While a lot of birds had already flown south for migration for the winter, the desert was absolutely lousy with ravens like this one. Luckily for me, a lot of the bigger mammals in the desert don't hibernate for the winter, so I was able to find these super cute mule deer, which are quite a bit smaller than the other North American deer, the white-tailed deer. And in Zion National Park, I found these bighorn sheep chilling on a rock. And as we were starting our drive out of the desert and toward home, we just happened upon this group of pronghorns hanging out on some BLM land. You said I could only show you one cool geologic feature, so here it is, the Chimney Rock. Super classic, wind eroded, and just standing iconic on the landscape. The #1 thing on my bucket list of things I wanted to see in the desert, though, was this. Doesn't look like much, just some weird bumpy soil, but this is biocrust. It's actually a conglomeration of all different microorganisms living together on the surface of the soil, and they wind up forming these soil concretions. Biocrust is incredibly important for desert ecosystems because it helps prevent soil erosion and it also provides some foundational nutrients. And find number 15 is a super exciting one. You can see my chapstick down there in the bottom of the photo for scale. Pretty sure this is a bear footprint we found in the sand along a stream bed. So what do you folks out there in the audience think? Did I crush it or what? Especially considering this was an ecosystem I'd never been to before. Don't forget to play along at home and show us pictures of your home ecosystems on social media. You can tag Team Roving Naturalist to show your support for the obviously superior naturalist. And you know what? It's time for a new challenge. Nancy really struggled to find those leaves, so maybe plants aren't her thing. So instead, let's take a challenge from the desert. Desert ecosystems are defined by their lack of things like rain and snow, aka precipitation. But that doesn't mean there's never water in a desert. Desert formations like canyons and washes are formed by the movement of water during certain times of the year. So that's your challenge, Nancy. I want you to show me a landscape feature, like a canyon, a wash, or some other feature, that was shaped by the movement and erosion power of water. Do y'all think she can do it? Stay tuned for next week's Turf Wars video to find out.